welcome to this episode of the Financial Incline. I'm your host, John Bovard. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Rex Wetherill. Rex is the former CEO and owner of Hydrotech, Inc., which is an industrial equipment supplier here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Rex sold his company back in 2019, and during our discussion, we talk about the process that he went through when he decided to sell the company. When did he first decide he knew he needed to do that? How far in advance did he start preparing for the sale? What did he consider most of the potential buyer? Also, we talked about what was his team of professionals that was around him during the sales process. So if anyone out there is interested in potentially selling your business and want to know some of the ins and outs of the process from someone who has done that before, make sure you tune into this episode with Rex Wetherill. Hi, Rex. How's it going this morning?
Outstanding. Yes, good to see you, John.
Yes, good to see you as well. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, just for the audience and the people that are watching this or listening in, just kind of give us your story and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. I am a Cincinnati native, born and raised in Cincinnati, and I was second generation in a family business. After graduating from college, I joined the family business, and that was in 1982. So I spent a lot of summers prior to that doing odd jobs around Hydrotech, and it certainly gave me some experience on of all the different roles in the organization, both ones that I would prefer not anyone to have to do, but yeah, it was good. It was great experience. So I started out at Hydrotech, as I mentioned, in '82. I started in the accounting department for a little bit. I was a finance major in college. Then I went to the sales group and was working with one of the outside sales guys, and then went to sales management, and then the vice president, and then president, and then the CEO. So I was CEO for the last about 15 years of my career at Hydrotech. So Hydrotech is a fluid power, motion control, and distributor, and also a systems integrator. So we not only distributed product, but we also designed and applied product for customers and complete systems. Back in probably 16 was when the thought of let's see what's out there in terms of does it make sense to look to maybe partner with another business or sell the business to a larger organization.
Yeah. Well, great. So appreciate you sharing that information with me. And just from talking with you previously, I know that a lot of those jobs that you had early on, sounds like even in your teenage years or even a little bit later when you're still in school, definitely kind of helped you to form an appreciation for the family business. Is that something you would typically recommend for other business owners if they've got kids that might potentially be in there, helping to try to get them involved in learning the family business?
Oh, absolutely. The one thing about having a family business is it really does. I mean, you got to be able to separate, of course, being in the business and then in the family. But it is, that's having that family atmosphere. That was the way that it had been while I was there, and as prior to taking over into management roles. But as they say, culture trumps everything, and that, and if you really genuinely care for the people that get you to where you want to go, they're all part of the team. It doesn't matter which role they have. That's one of the things that I wasn't big on titles. Yeah. We all have a role to play, and okay, let's the guy that may be considered in the the most I don't know, most boring role, so to speak. It's just as important to how we are viewed to our customer and to our people internally as some of the things that I was involved in. So
Right.
yeah. And when we sold the business in 19, we had 120 people, but I didn't look at those as people. I looked at those as families that relied on Hydrotech to be a viable business to provide for their families, and and in turn they would provide, you know, provide for us as too, and in the work that they did.
Yeah. Yep. So that leads me to my next question. Then, when did you know that you wanted to sell the company?
Yeah, that really kind of came up in like 2016, John. I was involved, being a distributor. We had several different products that that we were responsible for, and we were also a regional business, which was Ohio and Kentucky, predominantly. And those distribution agreements were exclusive. So we were bound by a certain territory. So the good and the bad is we were the only ones distributing that product because it's an engineered product. So it does take technical know-how to apply the products. It's just not it's not the items that we had were not a commodity. They were technical products.
Mm-hmm.
So being involved in some of the these distributor advisory councils for these guys, it allowed me to really see what was going on in the industry, understand what the trends were. I was seeing also things that concern me most were, a lot of consolidation. A lot of these, companies were being rolled up into bigger and bigger organizations. Also, this was starting the kind of the beginning of the e-commerce for industrial product, which I was concerned it would start to break down those types of boundaries that we had contractual commitments from our principals for.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? What's going to happen to Hydrotech? How are we going to be in 5 years to still be a strong business, a growing business? And I thought it was going to need. I thought we were going to need more critical mass,
Right.
to really be able to accomplish that, because we did embark on our own e-commerce site, and I think I'd mentioned to you in another discussion that we spent an exorbitant amount of money to basically be able to play in that arena. And it wouldn't have mattered if we were in all 50 states or we were in 2 states. The expense would have been the same.
Wow.
So it's a very difficult, if you're gonna go on to that, it's don't get shocked at the expense when people try to really have a really strong e-commerce or a digital strategy.
Right.
But back to that. So I thought, well, let's at least see what maybe the value of our business is. Let's see. And so I went into that. We reached out and we worked with RKCA, Tom Compton and Mano Batachera. And that's when we first started talking to them, was in 17.
Okay.
And so we spent, to be honest with you, we spent about a year and a half, asking should we, shouldn't we? We did a lot of investigation. We started planning in 16, but we were just hey, okay, we had not engaged with anybody to really help us sell the business.
Mm-hmm.
So and one of the problems or challenges for us is Hydrotech was a C corp.
Okay.
And at least most companies, when they purchase another company, they want to buy the assets. They don't want to have to buy stock.
Correct. Right. Right. Or keep those contracts alive and some of the other things that come with a stock sale.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't, and a stock sale has risk. That's not necessarily associated with if you just buy the assets. Right. So we looked into changing to an S corp, and that was I think it's about a 5 year where when you make that switch, so you kind of have to wait 5 years to be able to get the full benefit, and
Correct.
we didn't think that was that was the right answer. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we go, okay, well, we're gonna, if we embark on this, we're gonna want to try to find somebody that will actually buy the stock. And there's a ways around that. You can give them some sort of assurances, whether it be other insurance or some other thing. But then at the end of 17, I think the beginning of 18 is when we said, okay, it's about the end of 18, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go ahead
Okay.
and let's start putting together our package for the market. And, we felt that the valuations that we had seen based on, EBITDA and all that. And the other thing that was played a part in the decision was the multipliers were, for businesses like ours, were really strong. They were, and they were higher than normal, to be honest with you. And so that made sense. That made sense for us to do that. So we went down the path, put the package together, and then there was a gentleman that I had been in contact with, several times, because they had purchased a fellow. When I say fellow distributor, they had a lot of the same lines that we did. I knew the president, had known the president for probably 20 years. We were involved in other committees, and I talked to him, and he had introduced me to this gentleman. And they had a family office, and they were also had like 3 or 4 other distributors in their holding company that were an industrial and also related to fluid power, hydraulics, and so we met, and we continued the dialogue, and then we made the decision to, okay, let's see if we can make this work. We really liked what they had to say. I kind of had firsthand knowledge of how they operated with the fellow I knew at the other distributor.
Yep.
They seemed to, for us, what was important was that while we knew we were going to be selling to a much bigger organization, we still wanted there to be some family feel to it, that the employees were, they don't become a number. They're still they are the key part of the success of the organization. And to kind of make a long story short, we went into a LOI with them, and I think it was March of 19, and then about 7 months later, we were able to close the deal. And for us, it was for me, we had acquired about 5 smaller businesses while I was president, and then also CEO, which and they just added products and services to our toolkit, so to speak. And
Yeah. Kind of those bolt-on acquisitions.
yeah, and while some are going to say, maybe someone say, well, what, did they all work out? No, they all didn't work out. 3 of them worked out very well, 2 not so well. We got our money. We earned enough for our investment, but it didn't didn't really change
Right.
move the dial a lot. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. So 2016 was kind of the moment you thought, hey, the trends of this industry, our business, we might need some additional firepower, so to speak. It'd be good to have an influx of capital in, and maybe a larger group to come, help with that process. So from 2016, and then you said the LOI was March of 19. Was there anything you changed, business wise, whether that be adding new technology or, tightening up the financials, or, getting clean books and records, things like that, to really help to lead up to that sale?
Well, good point. On the financials, we had already had, we were pretty clean on those. We didn't well, not self-audit, but we didn't have outside auditors come in every year, but we had pretty clean books. We were comfortable with that. But your point about adding technology, we continued to invest in ways to grow the business. So, we added a product line, which was certainly that we needed to take up shop space. So we had our building in Cincinnati. We had two physical locations, and the one in Cincinnati was about 55,000 square feet. So we had to, we took a little bit of that back warehouse and put this new new product, because we had it took assembly, it took design. Mm-hmm. We also, to try to utilize space better, we made the investments to put in a lot of vertical storage systems in, which also made us more efficient. It was directly tied to our operating system, our ERP. So it took 4,000 square feet of warehouse that we had on shelves, and it put it into 400 square feet. Wow. So it was a 10-to-1 win there, but really from the efficiency. And we always tried to invest in our operating system or other ways to make our people, we wanted them to do things that added value to the customer.
Right.
Not just busy work or having to do a lot of, we wanted to automate as much as we could to make it as easy for them to do their job. And, one example, the company one of the companies that was in this portfolio of the distributor that I mentioned earlier, they were probably 15 to 20% less in turnover than we were.
Yep.
But just to compare shipping and receiving departments, our shipping and receiving department was 3 full-time people.
Okay.
They had 12.
Wow.
So they were, they were just doing a lot of things manually,
Right. Yeah. You ran a very efficient business. Yeah.
You walk out, you look at for us, it's, hey, here come the vertical storage units, the drawers pull out, a light, it gets put on, here's the part you need to ship, that type of thing. So
yes. So a lot of very efficient processes in place.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned, John, one of the things, I guess, to not drag this on too much, but we believe that we were, I'll use a real estate term, but we were move-in ready.
Right.
These guys weren't going to have to come in and do all this kind of work just to be able to live in the place. I mean, they could focus on investing in ways to increase turnover, as opposed to, well, God, we just got to bring these guys up to the current status.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And then from kind of your personal side, right? So obviously you got the business, got it running very efficiently, added new products, made sure you had the right staff, and like you said, you made it move-in ready. Were there some things you did on the personal side, whether that be personal financial planning, or in the back of your mind throughout the sales process this whole time, was there, okay, I need to get this number, right? Whatever that number might be. Did you do some planning and decide, I need to walk away with at least this amount of money, and that will last me for the rest of my life? Or on the counter side of that, was it more so, let's just see what, how much we can get?
Well, that's those are good questions. What I did do some, I'd been working with a financial guy for a number of years, and I was, I had kind of a number in my head that, what this would be great. I don't think I would have too many concerns to, that would be, I could, my wife and I could retire and we could go ahead and do what we wanted.
Yeah.
But and like a lot of people that had family businesses, 80 to 90% of the family's net worth is in the business.
Right. Exactly.
And so that's one of the things that, maybe if I had it to do over again, just in my career, we basically reinvested almost 100% of whatever money we made in the business back into the business.
Okay. Right.
We as a family didn't just take from it.
Yeah.
We were all, but yeah, and in terms of trying to get as much as we could for the business, we thought if we could get what some of the valuations that came back, that would be great. We weren't trying to extract the absolute most we could for the business. It was more important that it was the right buyer for the business, for the people that were there. And I'm happy to say after 4 years, like 90% of our management team is still there, still in place.
Right. That's fantastic. Yeah.
And I don't have a whole lot of experience to go on, but I think that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And so when you did those initial valuation reports, from RKCA or whoever else helped you out, how close was that valuation number to what you ended up getting? Did it seem to be pretty accurate with what lined up?
It was right on. It was right on. John, it was within 1%.
Wow.
I mean, it really surprised us as well. And, maybe looking back, it's an emotional roller coaster going through it, especially when you're going through the due diligence, because, they're trying to find as much as they can to lower the price.
Right.
And, we're trying to build it, and say, that's not the case. And, but yeah, at the end of it, I'm still happy that we made that decision.
Yeah.
Timing is interesting. As I say, timing is everything. For us, closing in October of 19, and then 4 months later was the big COVID-19, or maybe 4 or 5 months after that is when economy went crazy, and it was
yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, that is some impeccable timing right there. You had your crystal ball out for that one to be able to get out before COVID.
Well, yeah, that old saying, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So
right.
And that was just, it just, we were blessed. We were blessed that it worked out. And and the company that, of course, we're still held by the same group, Certified Power. When I say we, but Hydrotech is still held by Certified Power, and they've gone on to acquire a number of other fluid power distributors, some that are kind of in the family, that I say, most of it was tied around Rexroth, which is was the major line for a lot of these guys. So
right.
But yeah.
Well, great. And who you mentioned RKCA, you obviously had a personal financial plan. Who else was kind of involved as your team, your team of professionals helping you through the deal?
Yeah, no, that's great, because they played an important role as well. So Crystal Faulkner and her team at MCM were extremely helpful, and helping us with the tax, all that tax planning. And
right.
It's for anybody that's listening, it doesn't really matter what you sell your business for. It's what you walk away with after you've paid the IRS. And
right.
My hand was shaking, I know, when I had to write that check to the IRS. Well, it also was shaking when I had to write it to the state of Ohio, but that's
yeah.
But then we had Charles Meyer and Jim Wershing with Santon & Hughes. They were extremely helpful with the legal aspect of it. All the agreements, and oh my gosh, all the back and forth. It's
seems to be the kind of the longest part of the deal, right? Is waiting for responses between different attorney teams, their attorney, your attorney, and getting the documents drafted.
It is. It is, once you kind of get through the due diligence part of it, and you've kind of said, okay, yeah, here's the number. Now let's, yeah. I mean, kind of at least to me, kind of a funny story that we spent one time on the phone, their attorneys and our attorneys, and it was several hours just to define what the term cash means. Okay, so yeah, and so
Right.
because and I was just sitting there going, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I have my definitions here. Let me get
Right.
something out of my pocket. This is what
Yeah.
it is.
Seems pretty simple, right?
Yeah, I know, not to the attorneys, not the
Right.
attorneys.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
and you may be familiar with that, but that was a new one on me. So
Yeah, yeah. Cash. Typically, one of the big sticking points is net working capital. How is that getting calculated? How does that impact the purchase price as well? Net working
exactly.
capital is a big one.
Yeah, there was a lot of calculations on that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And
Hmm.
that's also where RKCA they did a lot of work, you know. And there's a lot, if anybody goes through this process, and it's important to be able to identify, I don't know if they're called give backs. I can't remember the technical term, but these are expenses that would not they need to be, they might have been incurred while the family was there. Okay. Like, okay, we as the family members, yes, there were some perks that we got, maybe
Yeah,
additional
add backs.
insurance, add backs. Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Those types of things. And, and make sure there's somebody that can really, really dissect that information and help with that, because that's impactful,
It
you know?
is. Yeah, it impacts the bottom line when you're looking at the financial statements and
Yeah.
how those work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
and how did you go about finding the professionals that helped you?
Yeah, we had worked with we talked with a few different uh companies. One was a bank, and one was, we at the time we were and until we sold, we were with Fifth Third Bank.
Yep.
And we worked with them. We knew they could handle it as well, but I knew um the Rippies from high school,
Hmm.
and my son and Mark Rippey, from Rippey Kingston, and his family. They uh, their son and my son were friends, and so I thought, I'm going to give these guys a call. I did not know Tom or Mono at the time,
Right. Yeah.
but I called them. They came in and met with us, and I mean, right after they left, everybody said, "Oh, this is the group we want to work
Yeah.
with."
Right.
And so they made an impact, and I think we made a great decision, because they were
Yeah.
very, very helpful.
Yeah. Well, good. Good. And did you, as far as after the sale went, did you plan on sticking around with the business?
Yeah,
Helping out with the
yeah,
client?
I was absolutely willing to stay on for, I was willing to do it up to 3 years, because I was 60 at the time of the sale. I was willing to stick around for up to 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing is that, since they were the business that essentially bought us, they were already a distributor of the same products. They
Yeah.
knew all the they knew, at least they knew all the main people at the manufacturers, at the principals. You
Right.
know,
Right.
of course, they didn't have any they didn't have any relationship with our customers, but they had they certainly had strong relationships with the principals. And a lot of times, when you do acquisitions, it's making sure that the principals are comfortable with the new owner, that they're also going to have the same growth strategies and priorities. Well,
Right.
that one we didn't have to worry about. And our management and leadership team, um, they they were solid. So it was pretty quick. I mean, I signed a 1 year
Hmm.
agreement, and it'd be renewable if we both wanted to continue it. But as I mentioned, 5 months after we signed the deal, we were COVID-19 was upon us, and
Yeah.
it also became kind of clear that the transition was fast. Uh, they trusted our leadership team, and I wasn't really adding much value to the business. I mean, honestly, I was
Mhm.
just I
Hey,
was kind of standing
self-aware
around.
right there.
I mean, I go, I and they were having to make some tough decisions because of COVID-19. I mean,
Right.
like a lot of businesses,
Yeah.
and pardon me. And if had we still owned it, we'd have had to make similar difficult decisions. I mean, we just
Right.
and so I just said, hey, let me give you one of the things in my employment agreement was all I had to do. I could give them 30 days notice that I was going to, basically resign. And so that's what I
Yeah.
gave them
Okay.
and said, please, if me resigning helps you keep a person or two on board that you may not have, please, please. And so I left, and John, what's interesting, I also, while at Hydrotech, I started a couple other businesses,
Hmm.
uh, and they were not part of the sale. One of them, in particular, that I spend a little bit of time on now. I have 5 partners, and one of the partners is the business that bought us.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I still have interaction with a lot of these guys,
Right. Right. Right.
still, and it is an e-commerce platform that we outsource the whole thing, but it's a pretty extensive e-commerce platform. So
Yeah.
and it seems to be going, it's been going pretty well.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, last question here, Rex, before I let you go. If looking back on it, throughout the entire, from 2016 on, is there anything you would have changed or potentially done differently throughout that entire process?
I probably would have been more focused on really looking at expenses that could have been uh, eliminated. I
Okay.
mean, we still ran our business. We did a lot of the things. I didn't want to really change anything from a strategy standpoint. I wanted to make sure that we were there was no different in our the way we were going to approach business and try to continue to be better and add on important products. But there were probably things that we did that uh, probably weren't necessary.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and
Hmm.
I would have been maybe a little bit more keen on that. And that might have helped the bottom line a little bit. But as I say, you know, one other thing, we owned the buildings uh, as well. We had another company that owned the buildings, and so we had new leases, of course, on that, and then we ended up selling the buildings too because
Right.
I found being a landlord was not. If I was a landlord to myself, that was okay, but being a
Right.
landlord not to myself, it wasn't quite as
Appealing.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Well, great. So, Rex, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Definitely something that, people from around our city can kind of, look to as a success and a successfully run family business. It's great that you are now giving your time back and helping out. We met at a Gehring Center
yeah,
event, and that was great that you volunteered to do that and help to share your story. So really appreciate the time that you took today and in this conversation.
yeah. Well, one thing I would just add that Cincinnati has what a great town to live and raise a family in, and what a lot of great businesses. As you mentioned, the Gehring Center. I happen to be I'm one of the judges of the Family Business of the Year, so I get to read all those entries and see how great
Yeah.
number of family and private businesses there are. And also there is a lot of great people that these guys can go to, these guys or gals can go to get help to see what their business is worth and if it makes sense for their family like it did mine.
Right. Right. Well, great. Well, Rex, thanks again for sharing your time, and hopefully you're enjoying some of the some sunshine down in Florida.